Hey, friends, welcome. I am so glad you are here tonight. Thank you so much for showing up after a long day. For many of you, maybe it's been a long week, some strange energy going on out there with earthquakes in New York City and an eclipse and snowstorms. So, welcome to your weekend. Please take a moment to settle in, get comfy, take a stretch, grab something to drink, and thank yourself for setting aside this time for yourself. So I'm going to share my screen. All right. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Amy Toscano, registered dietitian, and owner-founder of Lioness Wellness, empowered nutrition and wellness coaching for women. So that is my credentials, but I have a confession to make. I love my clients and I talk to each of them like they're my best friend because that's how I see you. Beautiful, strong, intelligent, capable individuals who are bravely finding the courage to want something more for yourself, maybe something you've never felt. And so if you're here too, I'm going to assume that's you too. And I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to talk to you like you're my best friend. And you just whispered into my ear your innermost wish for yourself and for your health. And I want that so much for you. But I'm not just going to give it to you. I'm going to show you you've already got what it takes. So now that we're friends, I've got another confession. I've got baggage. Yep, and this is kind of what I mean here when I say that each of us has a story. So today I am so incredibly fortunate to have the opportunity to feed my passion for uplifting my fellow women in health. But one of the stories I can tell about myself goes that I have a controlling perfectionist personality. So a long time ago, I decided to become a doctor. But then I got pregnant in college. So my story changed a little bit. I decided I needed to start making a living sooner. And my advisor talked me into completing my my nutrition degree, since I already had so many science courses. So I became a registered dietitian. And if you can believe it, 16 years ago when I first got my license, I pretty much refused to get involved with anything that had to do with weight loss. I didn't want to talk about helping somebody fit into their jeans. Definitely didn't want to talk about eating disorders. Pretty much stayed away from anything that had anything to do with emotions, unless the person was critically ill or dying from a complex disease. And that was my wheelhouse. So I would focus on feeding tubes and feeding people through TPN, which is where you basically carefully decide exactly what's going into someone's bloodstream. So talk about issues, right? I'm just trying to minimize my screen here. Oh, someone's here. So then I began to have children and learned that I really couldn't control anything. Those of you who've been through that experience know that when another human takes over your body, you come face to face with your body issues. And apparently I had a lot of issues because I had to do it 5 times. So I have 5 beautiful children, crazy. Um, but anyway, the more women I talk to, the more I see that so many of our stories, though all different, have some common threads. For many of us, eating is not simple as we think it should be. We don't feel at ease in our bodies, even though we might be out there super successful doing all kinds of things. We don't feel comfortable in our own skin. We don't even feel we can trust our own bodies to tell us when we're hungry, which is why it's all the more incredible and brave that you've shown up tonight. And I truly believe that as women, the more we talk about these issues openly and honestly, the more we find we're not alone and the less power they have over us. So I'd like you, even if it's uncomfortable, to take just a moment and think about what are some stories that you've been told throughout your life and that maybe you still continue to tell yourself about your body and eating. Was food a reward or withheld in your family? One story that I've heard repeated many times is that we have to deprive ourselves from enjoying eating to be found attractive. So think about, where do these stories come from? Our families, our culture, maybe past painful experiences. Some of us have been through trauma or abuse, and that does affect how we feel in our body. And do these stories build us up, or do they hold us down? And are they even true? And can we begin to let them go? Trust me, I know it's so hard because we've believed them for so long. They've become part of our identity. But is it now time that we might begin to rewrite the story? My goal for you tonight is that you will leave here feeling a little bit lighter and emboldened to maybe take those first steps to let go of some of these myths that have held us back from joy. So, moving on, let's get uncaged. So, how are you feeling tonight? I invite you to go ahead and type into the chat. Um, just honest. What are you feeling? This is a safe place where all emotions are welcome. What were some of your expectations coming tonight? Are you feeling skeptical? Are you just tired after a long week? If you're like this lion here in a cage, you might be feeling kind of cranky, tired of overthinking everything you put into your mouth, counting, measuring, not fun. Maybe tired of not being allowed to eat certain forbidden foods that you really enjoy. Maybe you're just hungry from, restricting or depriving yourself, or ashamed or frustrated if you haven't been able to stick to a diet. Well, my goal tonight is for you to leave feeling a lot more empowered and not like you're in a cage. So, how would you like to feel instead? Go ahead. Oh, you're feeling great, Lauren. That's super. So, how would you like to feel, you know, at the end of this talk or in a few months, a year from now? I've jotted down some adjectives, but feel free to pop in your own. How do you want to feel in your body every day when you get up, you go out to dinner with on a date or with friends? I want you to know that you are absolutely worthy and absolutely deserve to feel, yes, confident. You can feel confident. You deserve to feel confident, and you can. So our agenda tonight, this is what we're gonna try to learn. It's a little bit of a lot, but we'll try to keep it fun and light. So what are reasonable and healthy goals? Should you weigh yourself? If not, what should you monitor? How quickly should you expect results? And what are some other short-term benefits of eating well, other than weight or fat loss? And why does dieting often backfire? A lot of us have been on these yo-yo diets. So why don't they work? Why do you gain back the weight? What happens on a metabolic level when you restrict calories? And then what is the psychological effect of that? Why do you gain back the weight? Third, we will go over some facts about calorie counting Is there any value to it? What are its limitations? And then if calorie counting is not the main thing, then what else is important to pay attention to? What are the other keys to success to having a fit, healthy body? And then finally, red flags to avoid when diet scams that are out there, what to look out for. So hopefully you will leave here feeling savvy and recognizing, what is not going to be helpful and even could be dangerous. So jumping in, if there's one big message to you tonight, it's that the calories in, calories out theory is way outdated. It's time to throw that thing in the trash. It is one big oversimplification is what it is. And when I say the calories in, calories out model, it's the idea that if we could just eat fewer calories than we burn, the weight will just fall off. It's just that simple. We just have to have the self-control and eat less than we exercise. Well, to simplify it that much makes every one of us who've tried that feel like a big failure, right? Because it is really not that simple. Not that it's hard, but it's not that simple. There's other things involved. So we're going to break this one big fat lie into 3 smaller myths. Okay, we're going to break it down. So number 1, nutrition labels accurately tell us if a food product is healthy. Well, you would think so, right? Isn't that why nutrition labels are on products? Don't we have great, laws to tell us exactly what's in our food? Well, a few things that you should know. Nutrition labels can actually underrepresent the caloric value from 20 to 60%. That's a lot. That comes directly from research. So you think that you're eating 230 calories and you're being so careful to eat just the right amount, but it could be actually way off from that. Second, low calorie doesn't necessarily mean healthy, and we're going to talk more about that, about nutrient density. What is this food actually giving your body of value? Not just nutrient density, but is it going to be satisfying? Is it, is it going to taste good and be enjoyable? And then not all calories are equal. And we're going to go into this in a little bit more. Basically, not a calorie is not a calorie in a way, because some calories in food are completely absorbed and some are not. Not all calories are absorbed the same in your body. So when you're thinking about what to eat, is it food? So we talked about the back of the nutrition label and how it's not always completely accurate, but there's also a lot on the front of the package telling us this is a healthy food, this is a diet food, it's keto, it's low carb, it's only 100 calories, right? But is it a healthy food? And then this orange doesn't have any label, no package except the one it comes in. Yeah, keto. But comparing these things, the orange is minimally processed, is perishable. If you don't eat it pretty quick, it goes rotten, right? These sit on the shelf can sit there for a year and mold won't touch them. So is it food? That kind of makes you think of it. But what are you getting in these 100 calories? What is it giving you? Is it giving you, like this orange, actually nutrients that your body needs? And is it going to satisfy you? Or would you have to eat, 100 of these packets before you ever felt full or satiated? Because it has very low in fat and very low fiber. But even though it's a thin, skinny cookie, it's still a cookie. So and is it even going to taste good? So like my message is, if it doesn't nourish you and it doesn't really taste that good, why put it in your body? You're better off having the orange and maybe having like a real cookie. But why do we talk so much about nutrients, the nutrient density of food, the nutrients in that orange? Well, particularly if you are active or under stress, nutrition is of vital importance. Stress depletes us of nutrients. And when I say nutrients, I mean vitamins and minerals mainly. So often, so many women are not eating enough nutritious food to fuel everything that we do every day. We want to go to fitness classes. We want to show up at work. We want to show up in our relationships. We're using our brain all day, but we're not giving our bodies what they need. We're not giving our metabolisms what they need to crank. And I know it's such a allure to skip a meal, but you need to actually feed your metabolism, and we are going to talk about that more, or it just will shut down. But you need these micronutrients even more today than ever, because the food on our shelf doesn't even have the nutrients in it that it used to, because our soil's depleted. And not only that, but we're living in more of a toxic environment. So we need even more of those antioxidants, all those colorful foods to offset and detoxify those cancer agents. Yes, and that's where nutritional supplements can help, but you can't get all these nutrients from supplements. The way they're packaged in food is the way our body is meant to use them. So, and moving on to a really important nutrient, fiber. I talked about how those little cookies don't have much and how a calorie is not necessarily a calorie. I love this example of nuts as an example of this. Nuts are super high calorie food. If you were to put it into a calorie app and I had a fourth of a cup of nuts, that would come out to a lot of calories, and you'd be like, oh gosh, I can only have a couple. But nuts are full of fiber, and they're a really good example of this because they're a whole food with the fiber all intact, not just like, thrown in like added fiber. But so much of the fat is where the calories come from, are locked inside of the cell walls, which are made of fiber and actually pass right through our body. So we don't even absorb a lot of the calories that are in nuts. But at the same time, they give us a lot of nutrition. And this fiber has so many other health benefits, including helping you feel full for longer, helping you have sustained energy instead of a blood sugar spike and crash, helping your bowels move the way they should, and how that feels so much better, and nourishing a healthy microbiome. There's a lot of interesting research about just how important that is, having a good healthy bacteria in your gut. There's been experiments where they've transplanted bacteria from thin mice to obese mice, and the obese mice became thin and vice versa. And just to say that it's a big piece of the puzzle. And fiber, like what's naturally existing in fruits, vegetables, beans, nuts, whole grains, is where we get that good fiber that nourishes a good variety of healthy bacteria. Myth number 2, apps and equations accurately predict calorie needs. So here's, like we were talking about, you put your numbers into this app, you say, what's my height, age, weight, am I man or woman? And it's going to tell me exactly how many calories I need for the day. And if I want to lose weight, this is how many calories I can eat. Well, the fact is that just like those nutrition labels are very inaccurate, these apps are highly inaccurate. They are based on averages. And the fact is that metabolism is very complex, and it's affected by many different factors like age, genetics, hormones, environment, stress. The biggest one being body composition, how much muscle you have. Because truly, muscle is heavier than fat and really gives you a high metabolism. And what you eat matters. These apps don't take into consideration the nutrient density of foods like we were talking about and if it nourishes your body. It's only looking at counting calories, and that's so missing the big picture. And it's also having you put in how much different types of exercise you do and making us think, well, I have to do the highest intensity exercise all the time and burn the most calories. Well, in actuality, you want to have a variety of types of physical activity. And in fact, a slow, sustained, moderate intensity exercise like walking is when your body prefers to burn body fat because it doesn't feel like it's under stress and has to hold on to calories. Strength training is also super important to build that lean muscle that's going to be burning calories, burning energy, even when you're at rest. And mixing in some high intensity interval training where you do short bursts of intense cardiovascular activity. And that also helps to burn fat. But you don't have to be intensely exercising, for hours every day. You can do it in a healthy way. And then finally, as we said, that counting calories is such an oversimplification because there's so many other factors that affect our weight. Strength training, like we talked about, adequate high quality sleep when we're sleeping, and keeping in mind that substances like caffeine and alcohol affect how deep of a sleep we can get into. When we sleep, we replenish hormones like human growth hormone that help us to build that lean muscle tissue. Rest and recovery are so important. Stress management. And both of those things play into hormone balance. There's a hormone called cortisol. If you've seen my webinar on stress, cortisol is a stress hormone that if we're stressed out all the time, our body thinks it's in emergency mode and it is going to hold on to calories because it's like, oh crap, we are going to need, to deal with an emergency here. So if you're always under stress, you are unfortunately doing yourself a big disservice in a lot of ways. Adequate water and micronutrients are important, and toxins, all these things. And then talking about those micronutrients, here's just a little picture just showing you again how complex metabolism is. This is what's happening inside of your cells. And not that you need to know everything that's going on, but see how there's these circles everywhere? Well, you need nutrients to make these metabolism crank. Think of it like a big water wheel with the water going around to move it. Well, you need B vitamins and minerals, and B vitamins come from whole grains to make this metabolism crank to burn those calories for energy. You need nutrients to make your metabolism crank. You need calories and you need micronutrients. Finally, myth number 3, I should cut way back on calories and carbs to lose weight quickly. No, no, no. First of all, no, we don't want to lose weight quickly. We think we do, but it's really, really harmful. When you see, that's always the lure, a weight loss diet that you'll lose 10 pounds fast. Well, first of all, what you should know about low carb diets is usually the first 10 pounds or so is actually water that you're losing that's been bound to glycogen because your body isn't burning glycogen for energy anymore. But then after that, if you're losing more than 1 to 2 pounds per week, that is really, really too fast. It's going to cause your body to go into shutdown mode. You will lose weight at first, yes, but then your body will think that it's starving. It doesn't know that there's, a snack around the corner if you really get desperate at the convenience store. It thinks, oh my gosh, we're not going to kill another buffalo for another couple weeks. We need, we're starving. We got to hold on to every, gram of fat that we have. So now you've restricted yourself. You've slowed down your metabolism. And now you're hungry. Your body is pumping out hunger hormones in response because this is just how we're made. It's biology. So you are, driving yourself crazy. And it's really hard to stick to this, low calorie diet, restrictive diet. So then if you just go back to eating the way you were before, now you've got a lower metabolic rate. Now instead of needing maybe 1,800 calories per day just to maintain, now your body only has become more thrifty and only needs 1,600 a day. So you're going to gain back more weight than you started with. And unfortunately, you've also lost muscle that you had. So you're going to be gaining it back as fat. So we want slow fat loss. And I really suggest throwing your scale away because, as I said, it is true that muscle does weigh more than fat, and it just does terrible things to your psyche looking at a scale every day. But I understand a lot of people aren't ready to do that. But if you are losing weight, you don't want to lose it fast or you will gain it back. All right. So, red flags to avoid. So there's a lot on the web. This new product, this new plan, lose weight fast, right? There's always something different. So the first red flag to avoid is promises of rapid weight loss. Well, no, we've talked about this, and I hope I drilled it into your head that that is not what we want. If you gain it back too fast, you will gain it back and then some. It's just biology. The promise is that you can eat whatever you want. Well, yes and no. You can totally enjoy, that cookie we were talking about, but what you eat, nutrients matter. Remember we talked about. So you can't just count the number of calories and eat crap. You need to put good things into your body. Nourish yourself. Anything that's extreme, cutting out, a lot, over restricting calories or a whole entire food group, it's going to be difficult to sustain and likely unhealthy for you in the long term. You're going to be missing out on important nutrients. That there's a magic pill or supplement. We all want this easy answer, but if it seems too good to be true, yes, it probably is. So unrealistic expectations. We need to think about like reasonable expectations. We can feel sexy and amazing in our bodies, but we don't need to look like airbrushed Barbie dolls, right? We need to start to rebel against those standards. Oopsie. Oh, and then if it's saying just follow my meal plan, people all think that they want a meal plan, but everybody's really different in terms of their preferences, their schedule. What you really want to learn is just how to eat in the world, how to live. You really don't want a strict meal plan that you have to follow all the time, right? You want a way of eating that you can maintain for your whole life. So what did we learn? So what are reasonable and healthy goals? Well, we talked about losing weight too fast. Some other other metrics, if you would like to measure something, could be waist circumference or waist to hip ratio. Those are better predictors of percentage of body fat, as particularly the most unhealthy kind of body fat that's around our abdomen. But also, what about some of the more short-term benefits of eating well? What about having more energy? What about having, glowing skin and hair, better mood, better sleep, better bowel movements? And what would you do if you had more energy? I mean, the sky is the limit. Why does dieting often backfire? Well, we talked about the biology of that, of over restriction, as well as the psychological effect of that, how it really gets, makes us feel terrible about ourselves, and why we gain back the weight. We talked about keys to success, eating nourishing food, but also all those other pieces of the right mix of exercise, the right amount of rest, managing stress, and we talked about those red flags to avoid. So now, if this seemed overwhelming at all, there is the good news is the great news is that you can repair your metabolism and look great and eat like a goddess. So these foods in this picture, I want to emphasize there are a lot of calories here, but they are good, nourishing calories. This is food that is going to make you feel so satisfied that you could have that cookie if you want it, but you'll be surprised that you can honestly get to a point where you can take it or leave it. I know it's hard to believe, but you will be so satisfied when you learn to eat like a goddess, and you will be repairing your metabolism and getting to your fittest body. I know it's a big concept to accept, not to have to count calories all the time, and this freedom can be scary when you've held on to these things for so long. But it takes baby steps, and you are going to love how you feel it. Then you may also want to sign up for a coaching plan. We have a 6-month coaching plan that overlaps beautifully with the online program. And this is especially valuable if you do struggle with emotional or disordered eating, if you struggle with your relationship with food or your body, or really feel at war with yourself.